You're on record.
Yeah, little blue, New England states.
Gentlemen, we're on record.
Gavel.
Good evening. Announcement is made that adequate notice of this meeting has been given and that it is being conducted in accordance with NJSA 10:4-6 et sec. Of the New Jersey Open Public Meetings Act. Roll call, please.
Mr. Berkowitz.
Here.
Mr. Jaskowitz.
Here.
Mr. Mazzarella.
Here.
Mr. Petty.
Here.
Mr. Quinn.
Here.
Mr. Reddy.
Present.
Mr. Willens.
Here.
Chairman Grignani.
Here.
We have our board planner, Mr. Chadwick.
Present.
Our board engineer, Mr. Lemanowitz.
Here.
And our board attorney, Mr. Johnson.
Here.
Would you please stand and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Chadwick, can you raise your right hand, please? You swear or affirm that the testimony any testimony that you give tonight should be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Mr. Mayor, can you swear or affirm any testimony that you give tonight should be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Thank you. No, let's do it.
No? Okay.
Okay.
This meeting is open to the general public. Is there anyone that would like to speak on anything that is, oh, excuse me. Announcement is made that adequate notice of this meeting, of this meeting has been given and that it is being conducted in accordance with NJSA 10:46 et sec. Of the New Jersey Open Public Meetings Act. Is there anyone in the public who would like to speak about anything other than what is on our agenda this evening? Seeing none. Resolutions. Application 24:03, Patel, 93 Halsey Road. C variance to construct a two-story addition. May I have a motion, please?
Second.
Berkowitz.
Yes.
Jaskowitz.
Yes.
Mazzarella.
Yes.
Petty.
Yes.
Quinn.
Yes.
Reddy.
Yes.
Willens.
Yes.
Could they all be voted together or just separate?
The next few, I already went over this.
The next three.
Can't do them together?
Yes.
Next to two, then do together.
The next four can be done together.
Yeah.
Application 24:32, Ronald Farrington. Application 24:45, Lillian Whitney Morley. Application 24:50, Anthony. Application 24:22, Boxer Property.
Motion. Second.
Okay, Berkowitz.
Yes.
Jaskowitz.
Yes.
Petty.
Yes.
Quinn.
Yes.
Reddy.
Yes.
Grignani.
Yes. Application 23:10, Klein Outdoor Advertising. Motion?
So moved.
Second.
Jaskowitz.
Yes.
Petty.
Yes.
Quinn.
Yes.
Reddy.
Yes.
Willens.
Yes.
Grignani.
Yes. Application 2440, are you 63 Fairmont Road, Block 357, Lot 5, Zone R4. C variance to legalize an air conditioning unit contrary to Section 430-35, column 8.
You could come up.
Can you raise your right hand, please? Do you swear or affirm that the testimony that you're about to give should be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Can you state your name and spell both your first and last names, please?
My name is Jennifer Al.
First name, Jiuanhuey, last name, A.E.
Thank you. You can have a seat.
Would you please tell the board what your application is for?
Okay, my case is to legalize an air conditioning unit that we replace this unit as the same location as the original place that when we bought the house, I lived in this place for almost 30 years. And we need the air conditioner. So,
Same location and only replace it.
yes.
Minimus. Minimus.
Okay,
Are there any questions from the board?
No.
Any questions in the audience in regards to this application? Seeing none. Would someone on the board like to frame a resolution, please?
Application 24:40, John He Howe,
Yes.
63 Fairmont Road, Block 357, Zone 5, Zone R-4, to grant a C variance to legalize an air conditioning unit contrary to section 430-35, column 8. Second.
Berkowitz.
Yes.
Grignani.
Yes,
Jaskowitz.
Yes.
Mazzarella.
Yes.
Teddy.
Yes.
Quinn.
Yes.
Ready.
Yes.
Willing.
application has been approved. We will be
Yeah.
receiving information within 10 days at our next meeting when this application is approved. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Have a good evening.
No, you can go. You have a good night.
Application- Application 2457, Zachary Surleone, 32 Asbury Place, Block 63, Lot 2 Zone, R3. C variance to construct a driveway expansion contrary to section 430-35, column 13.
Can you raise your right hands, please? Do you swear or affirm that the testimony that you're about to give should be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Can you each state your name and spell your first and last names, please?
Bianca Velasquez, V-I-A-N-C-A, V-E-L-A-Z-Q-U-E-Z.
You, sir?
Zachary Cincione, Z-A-C-H-A-R-Y, C-I-R-I-N-C-I-O-N.
Great, thank you. You can be seated.
Thank you.
Have you received the engineering report from November 5th?
I received a memo from the engineering department today. Yes, I just received it today, and I agreed to work with the engineering department to meet all the requirements of that memo.
Have you had a chance to review in detail that memo?
I looked through it. I got it this morning, but I reviewed it this morning.
I understand that you just got it this morning.
Yes.
Some of the things that he's suggesting
Mhm.
may be costly. So if you wanted some time to speak to the engineering department and maybe your own engineering expert about how that costly that would be before you move forward with the application, I'm sure the board would give you the time to do that if that's what you wanted to do before the board acted on your application.
Understood. It would definitely be good to communicate with the engineer, both in our, contractor. I guess I'd like to understand what that would entail as far as extending this further. Would we need to, re-notify any parties or,
Nope, you just
repeat any
have
part of
to
the
ask
process?
the board to carry this to a new date, and that you wouldn't have to renotice all the people on the 204 list.
Okay, understood. And is there any negative effects of following through today and discussing with the engineer afterwards, or continuing with the application now and discussing with the engineer afterwards if it comes up to be a...
The real difficulty is if you approve it subject to the engineer's report, which he doesn't make any recommendations. He tells you what the problems are.
Mhm.
And you go see him and you can't comply with the report, you have to come back here and start it all over again. So So you're better off taking a pause, go see him, find out what can be done. Because that letter is not uncommon. We have a lot of them. The same issue. Some abandon, some go forward because it was recent.
And after you review that, you might decide maybe you could do something a little different or whatever, come back with it. That'd be better.
So you just ask the board to carry it. Nora will give you a date certain for tonight. And there's, the attorney has said you don't have to renotice.
Other than time, there's no detriment.
I was gonna say, you have a time urgency on this thing?
Thank you. Yeah, okay, how far back would the skip push, I guess, would be the next question.
Nora, do you have a date, please?
January 8th.
Not bad.
It's not too bad, it's November, and to have time to work with the engineer.
Yeah,
The recommendation from our attorney and our Mr. Chadwick. It would be the planner, thank you, sir. Keep on. It would be in your best interest to carry this and to get additional information.
yeah, understood, okay.
All right, the date, Nora?
January 8th, 2025.
So you're asking the board to carry it with no further notices and with all extensions to make their decision, correct?
Correct.
Thank you.
Thank you. Application 2431 Chase Bank, 53 North Bevwick Road, Block 607, Lot 1, Zone B5, preliminary and final site plan with C variance to construct solar carports. Good evening.
Good evening, Chairwoman Gregnani, members of the board, Danielle Federico from the law firm Chiesa, Shahinian, and James Rossi, appearing on behalf of the owner and applicant, J.P. Morgan Chase, with respect to the proposed development on a property located at 53 North Beverwick Road, which is designated as Block 607, Lot 1 on the township tax maps. Just to briefly introduce the project myself before I present my professionals, the property is located in the B5 and R4 zones and is presently developed with a commercial bank with the drive-through and related site improvements, all which are going to remain. By this application, the applicant is seeking preliminary and final major site plan approval and variance relief in connection with the proposed installation of 3 solar carport facilities over the parking area of the existing bank. Again, there's no changes being proposed to the existing commercial bank. The proposed solar carport is part of Chase's Green Initiative, which it's investing in renewable green energy in solar carports at Chase-owned properties. It's part of their long-term investment in their sites, and there's about 14 other Chase-owned properties which are going through the same process in New Jersey. The property has several pre-existing nonconformities, which our planner will discuss, but just to briefly mention them, it's with respect to the existing bank use, impervious coverage, and the front yard setback to the existing building. We're not changing those with respect to the building. And by this application, we're seeking a D1 use variance for the proposed solar carport accessory solar energy devices. They're not listed as permitted accessory uses in the B5 zone or the R4 zone, therefore they're not permitted, so that's why we're seeking that D1 use variance. Again, we have a planner here which will further detail that. We're also seeking bulk variance relief for the height of the proposed solar carport, as well as to slightly increase the impervious, which is a pre-existing nonconformity, and we're slightly increasing that with this, with the carports, and for a front yard setback for the accessory structure. All these items, again, will be further detailed by I have a civil engineer here tonight and a planner. I've submitted the affidavit of service and proof of publication, and unless there's any questions for me, I have 2 witnesses for you tonight.
Doesn't appear to be any questions.
Is there someone here who will be able to answer any questions of the panel's themselves?
We have a civil engineer.
It's a simple question.
Yeah,
Are they non-glare panels or not? Are they non-glare panels?
Yes, and he could answer
That's the
that.
question.
Yep. So with that, I'd like to introduce my first witness, which is our professional civil engineer, Mr. Aaron Chan.
Can you raise your right hand, please? Do you swear or affirm that the testimony that you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Can you state your name, spell your first and last name, please?
Of course. My name is Aaron Chan. First name is spelled A-A-R-O-N. Last name is spelled C-H-A-N.
Thank you. You can have a seat.
Can you please give the board the benefit of your educational background and experience?
Of course. I graduated with a bachelor's in civil engineering from the College of New Jersey. I've been practicing in the field for the last 10 years. I'm a licensed professional engineer in the state of New Jersey. My license is in good standing. I'm also a certified municipal engineer by the NJSME. I've been accepted into over 30 land use boards across the state of New Jersey and provided expert engineering testimony at each of these. Worked on over 20 projects of similar in size and scope.
I'd like to offer Mr. Chan as an expert in the field of civil engineering.
He appears to be qualified.
Thank you. Mr. Chan, you're familiar with the site and the proposed project?
Yes. As Ms. Federico has indicated, so Chase is really on the green initiative here. They're looking to invest in their properties by the way of reducing their carbon footprint, and they're looking to do that by utilizing solar panels in the way of solar carports. They do recognize that a lot of their facilities are existing facilities. However, they want to reinvest into those properties. So as such, they did, as the onset of every project, they take a look at the feasibility of mounting the solar panels onto the roof. And unfortunately, many of these existing buildings, just due to the age, due to the fact that they were designed many, many years ago, they're not suitable for such use due to increased loads, due to increased penetrations on the roof, or any kind of moisture intrusion type of concerns. And generally, and occasionally, the orientation of the roof is also just not a very conducive location towards placing solar panels, towards maximizing energy production. That being said, the next viable location they tend to look for, it would be in the existing parking lots where there is already a lot of asphalt and impervious surfaces. So they tend to gear towards that, and pretty much all of the projects under this current program is going to follow that train of thought, where the solar carports are being proposed within the asphalt parking areas themselves. And that generally ends up being a pretty efficient use of space, as it doesn't really create any real impervious surface increases, and all the while providing a little bit of shade and shelter for customers, for vehicles, and what have you. There was a question in regards to whether or not there's any glare coming off of these panels. The whole point of these panels is to capture sunlight, so there's an anti-reflective, anti-glare coating on these panels. In fact, there's actually studies done by the National Laboratory on energy production by the under Department of Energy that studies solar panels next to airports where glare is of critical concern. They have generally identified that it is not of a concern, it's negligible. Generally, that reflectivity rating for all of the solar panels around 2%, so it's not really an issue. That being said, I can kind of walk the board through the existing site if there's if we want to go in that direction, or I can kind of just speak to maybe the review letter comments.
I think if you start by walking the board through the plans, can you also, just for the record, the plans were submitted by Black & Veatch. Can you explain your role in the project team?
Of course. So Black & Veatch is a global firm, and they have 65 locations across the United States. That being said, and Chase is also a national brand. So they partner with each other, and however, they do seek the guidance and the presence of a local engineer, such as myself, Stonefield Engineering, to provide them a little bit of, sort of closer to action, boots on the ground type of assistance with their projects. And we assist them with their plan review, the local zoning ordinance review, any of the review letters that come in, as well as the, the testimony in front of land use boards.
So if you want to walk through your plans and show the existing conditions, and then go through some of the comments in the review letters.
Okay, so what I've just pulled up is an aerial exhibit. It is dated November 5th, 2024. It's prepared by Stonefield Engineering, and what this illustrates is a recent and high-quality aerial image photograph of the existing site.
Was that submitted as part of the package?
No, and if you, A1?
A1
you want
would
us
be
to mark
great.
it as?
So this aerial exhibit is marked as A1, and what this essentially is showing is the existing Chase branch that's located on the frontages of Washington Avenue, Minnehaha Boulevard, as well as North Beverwick Road. The property, as Ms. Federico has indicated, is split zone between B5 local business and R4 residential. The entire property in itself is 0.9 acres. It consists of a single-story, about 3,800 square foot bank branch building that's located on the northeast corner of the property. And there's 3 drive-up ATM lanes you can see on the western side of the property that operates in a clockwise fashion to the drive-up ATMs at the southeastern corner of the physical building itself. Across the entire property, there's a total of 31 parking spaces. Now, I just generally describe them as the central field under the word site. There's 13 spaces. The eastern field, which is the ADA stalls, and then 2 other parking spaces for a total of 4. And then the southern row is 14 parking spaces along the southerly property line. The site, as developed currently, is 84.7% impervious within the B5 zone, and that's under the 90% as permitted. Within the R4 zone, that's the existing non-conforming condition of 69.5% impervious, where 40% is permitted. The site generally actually experiences some level of topography change. It's almost about a 10-foot grade change across, going from the west going towards east. And generally on site, it's around 2 to 5% slopes. Access to the site is provided via the main site driveway on North Beverwick, and then an ingress-only driveway on Washington Avenue. And as you heard, the purpose of this application is to propose these solar carports. And actually, in this aerial photograph, you can actually start to identify some of these solar panels in some of the nearby, both residential and commercial properties. I think I counted no less than 5. I believe there's just a few, within 300 feet of the Chase branch itself. I actually did review also, and our planner will get into it a little bit more, the Parsippany-Troy Hills Master Plan 2020 that actually supports the adoption of solar panels as far as the sustainable energy creation, and also encourages, the use of and the redevelopment of sites as far as towards energy efficiency and providing green infrastructure. And I already spoke a little bit about how, it's part of this program. Chase looks at whether or not that roof is suitable. In this case, just due to the structural loads of that, it's not. So that's it. I'll flip to, what it is we're proposing, which are the 3 solar carports.
Was this part of the plan?
This is part of the submitted package. This is the site plan sheet. This is last revised August 29, 2024. So the carports themselves, they're pretty much solar panels mounted on a steel beam structure. They're either in T-frame configuration or a cantilever configuration. The panels themselves, they're generally 3.2 feet by 6.5 feet. Between the panels, as they're configured, there's actually a small gap around 3/8 of an inch. That allows for water and snow melt to kind of go through each of the panels to prevent a large sheet flow condition coming off the panels themselves. So they kind of generally trickles through the gaps between each of the panels. The panels also have a bit of a lip on them just to prevent that if it ever snows again here in New Jersey, and just prevent that condition where the entire snow sheet will just slide off of the panels themselves. I spoke about the glare condition. Generally, it's a matte and black and blue finish. Like I said, it was around that 2% reflectivity. So the whole point of these panels is to capture sunlight. So they do put an anti-glare coating just to make sure that as much of the sunlight is captured towards energy production.
How many total cars would be covered by the whole solar?
Yeah. Give me 1 second. So across the site, the number of parking spaces that will be covered is 5 in this row, 6 in this next row within that center parking field, and then over the easterly parking field, about 3 of those spaces will be covered. And that's generally the carports themselves. And let me just speak to a little bit about each of the carport structures. So for commercial sites, we typically design to the largest design vehicle. And for these type of applications, the largest design vehicle here would be a fire engine, a ladder truck. And they're typically around 12.5 feet tall. So we need to accommodate for that emergency scenario where a fire truck does need to navigate through the site. And because of that, we tried to design for a 13.5-foot vertical clearance underneath of the structures themselves. Now, the structures themselves, they also have some bit of weight to them. They need to resist, snow loads. They need to resist wind loads as well. So the depth of the steel beams becomes a little bit larger. That being said, you add the vertical clearance from accommodating fire trucks and other emergency vehicles, you add in the depth of the steel beams, and then you add the actual panels themselves. It generally arrives at a height that's a little bit taller than what's permitted within your ordinance. And for an accessory structure, it's 15 feet tall. The physical structures themselves, they're 17.5 feet tall. However, in the township definition for building height, that accounts for the existing topography around a 6-foot offset off the entire perimeter of the structure. The final calculated height for these structures is 18.3 at its highest point. And the location, like I said, they're intentionally selected to really maximize the energy that's being produced with these structures, and that's generally over the existing parking stalls themselves. I don't think I need to get too deep into the physical dimensions of each of the carports unless the board wants to hear specifics. But again, the site does front on 3 frontages, so front yard setback does apply all 3 frontages. That starts to constrain, our ability to kind of place these carports while maximizing energy production without triggering our front yard setback variance. In our case, we are triggering that on the Washington Ave side, where 20.25 feet is proposed as a setback and 25 feet is required. Now, again, it's a function of having on 3 separate frontages. If you look at the accessory structure setback or side or rear yard, that's 6 feet or 10 feet within that zone. So if this was treated as a side yard or a rear yard, it would surely comply. And that being said, we do know, the intention of this project is to produce as much energy as possible to offset what the energy the Chase branch is using. Height, I spoke about that already. The 17.5 feet is the absolute height, but calculating it, taking into consideration of the existing topography brings it up to the 18.3, again, where 15 is permitted. And generally, the carports themselves across the three carports across the site produces 63% of the total energy being used by the bank, across the entire year, 63%. And that's in the form of obviously a sustainable energy source. And this has actually a very small, in my opinion, a de minimis increase in impervious coverage on site. Previously I noted that existing non-conforming condition is 69.5 feet, or 69.5%, excuse me. And that's increasing to 70% where 40 is permitted. That accounts for 100 square feet. That being said, I did review, the board's engineer's review letter from October 28, 2024. I believe I addressed as many of those comments in my direct testimony. Let me just take a quick glance through. Yes, so that we did note there was a request regarding the tree trimming that is needed to accommodate these panels. We did work with the township forester. We will trim the trees within all industry standards, and they did note that is an acceptable condition, and we can agree to that. Beyond that, there were recommended conditions under number 7. We can agree to comply with those conditions listed in the form of bond, as-built, survey, etc. Also received the board planner's letter, June 5th, 2024, answered the question regarding glare, and I think the other comments were mostly factual. So that being said, hopefully I was able to add enough detail here and generally keep it pretty brief. Let me know if the board or any of its professionals have any further questions. I'd be happy to answer.
The height variance you're requesting is for 18.3 feet. Correct? Yeah, but based upon Tom's comments and the recalculation based upon the ordinance.
Yes.
It's 18, it actually comes out to 18.3 based upon the calculations performed.
That's
in
correct.
accordance with the ordinance, right?
That's correct.
The structure height has not changed, it was just the calculation.
The calculation has changed to account for that site topography.
Township requires it's the distance from the structure to then measure the height.
I understand, I just wanted to make sure.
Are there any lights underneath the canopy?
There's a total of 9 LED strips. They're 4-foot length sections. For each of them, there's generally about, I believe this one has 3. The western canopy has 3 LED strips, 4-foot sections. This one has, the central one has 4 LED strips, and then the easterly one has 2.
Can you shut them off during business hours?
As far as, we can shut them off as long as we can still remain in compliance with the security illumination standards for financial institutions.
Yeah.
So there's currently lights in the parking lot now?
There are currently lights within the parking lot.
And are they on all night until morning, or do we know that? How long those lights are currently?
That I don't know. We can work with the Chase branch to see about, turning the non-necessary, non-security necessary lights off, during after hours.
Township for many years has had that as a condition, so.
Yeah.
Probably could go off. That's an old building, isn't it? Yeah.
Do we have any questions from the board, additional questions of this witness?
I just wanted to be clear, is this power just for the drive-through places or for the whole building?
It will be for the entire branch building and accounts for around 63% of its total energy. So it doesn't fully, make it net zero per se, but around 63%.
How tall is the building?
The building itself measures somewhere around 13 to 16 feet.
So this can be higher than the building?
Yes.
And what's there right now? Is there a cover?
There is not a cover, it's an open parking lot.
Where are the lights?
The lights are scattered around the perimeter of the parking lot. They're generally around 20 feet.
And then I noticed in one of the pictures, you're removing a tree, but you're replacing it somewhere else on the property?
Correct.
Any other questions from the board? Any questions from the audience of this witness, his testimony? See none? Questions? Sir? Any questions? Would someone like to frame the res?
No.
We have
Oh,
some.
sorry, I'm the witness.
I apologize, I'm rushing, I'm
apologize.
rushing you.
I want to give everyone a chance if they have
Yes,
questions.
yes.
So with that, I'd like to call my final witness, which is our professional planner, Mr. Thomas Ricci.
Can you raise your right hand, please? Do you swear or affirm that the testimony that you're about to give should be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Great. State your name, spell your first and last name.
Thomas, Thomas, last name Ricci, Ricci, business address 92 Park Ave, Rutherford, New Jersey. I'm with Stonefield Engineering Design.
And Thomas, can you please give the board the benefit of your educational background and experience?
Sure. Licensed professional planner in the state of New Jersey, nationally certified by the American Institute of Certified Planners, bachelor's degree, master's degree in city planning, both from Rutgers University. I have been accepted by around 100 land use boards throughout New Jersey and New York, including this board.
And is your license currently valid?
Yes.
I'd like to offer Mr. Ricci as an expert in the field of professional planning.
He appears to be qualified.
Thank you. Thomas, are you familiar with the site and proposed use?
Yes.
And you heard the testimony of our civil engineer as well as the comments made by the board?
Yes.
Can you give the board your testimony and opinions with respect to the site, the proposed project and the variance being requested?
Sure, yeah, be happy to. So obviously you guys heard, this is an application to install solar carports at the existing Chase Bank. So this is something that not only Chase is trying to do, as Mr. Chan mentioned, with all their other locations, but a number of other uses we've seen in recent years, whether it be residential or other commercial uses, moving towards powering these sites with solar, really for the promotion of more sustainable development practices. Now, the 2020 Town Master Plan echoes that. It specifically has a recommendation that to support solar and make energy efficiency a higher priority. They have another recommendation, kind of takes it one step further, recommending that the town adopt programs that reduce energy use and reduce greenhouse gases by using solar panels. So the way I see that, there's obviously a preference by the town to have solar on existing sites. As Mr. Chan mentioned, that we noticed, when we went out, we looked at the sites in the area, we looked at the surrounding developments. There are other solar panels. Those were all roof mounted because they were either on the roof of a residence or a business, but they're, the way I see this between the master plan and the other roof mounted solar, there's obviously a preference for the use of solar within the area. Which is why I think that constitutes a special reason for the approval of the use variance, despite these accessory uses not being permitted by ordinance. Essentially, public good, general welfare is served with the implementation of a more sustainable land development practice. And then further, there's purpose N of the municipal land use law, which promotes the use of renewable energy resources, which is exactly what we're doing here. So town policy, state policy, we see it around the area. Everything points to the positive use of solar in the area. We think that this site is particularly suitable for this accessory use of solar, particularly because it's serving it's on the same site as the existing bank. The benefits of solar have to essentially, if it's serving the bank, it has to be located on the same lot that the bank is on. With particular emphasis on the lot characteristics, this is a property that is much larger than surrounding properties and has the space for it. As Mr. Chan mentioned, there is just a surface parking lot in the back area, so readily available has that space where you can fit solar. So this is really an opportunity to be able to promote solar on a site that can actually easily accommodate it. We are seeking relief for C variance relief for the height of the accessory structure. 15 feet is permitted. As Mr. Chan mentioned, the structure itself is 17.5 feet tall, but the calculated height for the ordinance comes out a little bit higher, about 18.25 feet, when you actually factor in the average grade. As he mentioned, safety is number one concern. You have to be able to fit emergency vehicles, so there's a minimum clearance height that is associated with these. That's how Chase designs them, not for this site, but for all sites. So that's really what's driving that. We're seeking relief for a front yard setback encroachment. Now that is actually in the rear of the property. I'm pointing to plan left right now of the site. That's essentially 20 feet is required, and we are about 20.25 feet from that lot line. 20 feet?
25.
25, that's, yeah, 25 feet is required, and 20.25 is what's proposed. That's really the site is essentially disadvantaged because it fronts on 3 streets. That's the functional rear of the property. It's behind the building. It's basically in between the line of trees and then the building. So that is really functioning as the rear of the property.
That would be on Washington Street?
Yep.
I believe that's correct. Yep, that's correct, Washington Street.
And those trees will be staying?
Those trees are staying, correct. They are evergreens, they are green year-round. And then the last C variance is the C variance for impervious coverage. As Mr. Chan mentioned, it's a 0.5% increase, about 100 square feet. Really, some of the edges of this solar carport sits over these existing mulch beds in the parking lot. Those are to remain. It's not like we're lessening impervious by pouring, concrete or anything like that. There's just an overlap between in a couple small areas of that of the carport. So aesthetically, it looks like no impervious is being added to the property itself. I don't think we go against the intent of the master plan of the zoning ordinance. As I mentioned, I think the master plan is very favorable in promoting solar. I think it agrees well with the state policies that have been trying to implement solar in New Jersey. I think a lot of the accessory structure requirements relate to things like putting a shed maybe too close to your neighbors or up against the property line. I just don't see that being the situation here. You have an open parking lot, an existing commercial lot that's been commercial for, I know this building was built probably in the 60s. and really just putting carports in this existing commercial lot. So I don't think that's going against what the accessory structure ordinance is trying to govern. I think, planners would generally universally agree solar is a positive thing as we move hopefully towards a more sustainable future. I think the impacts are minimal with this. I think it's a perfect location, perfect candidate for it, and that's why I think the variances can be granted under both the C1 criteria as well as the C2 criteria. And I think the use, the accessory use itself can also be granted under that approval. Thank you.
All three carports are the same height?
They're not. The one all the way to the right is lower. That one's actually compliant with the zoning ordinance. These two, I get the calculated height, but I know that the two to the one in the center and the westernmost one, they have that same 17.5 foot, only at the highest point.
Right.
I'm not sure what the calculated height, I'm sure they're different calculated heights because the grade is a little bit different, but the structure itself, they're both 17 feet. Once again, that's only at the highest point. These are sloped 5%.
I guess my second piece of that question would be, why is the one up front smaller if we're concerned about emergency vehicles fitting in there from a fire truck
The
standpoint?
one right here?
Yeah, if that's lower.
Because that one's actually only over existing parking spaces. So really the western one is over the drive aisle. That's where an emergency vehicle would have to drive through, say it would have to access the rear part of the site. But it wouldn't drive through parking spaces. So that one can be lower because you're just going to have passenger vehicles underneath it.
Okay.
So only the one would have to have the emergency vehicle access at the higher level, the one on the far left?
That's correct.
That's one you're looking at variance for.
Any questions from the board? Any questions from the audience in regard to this testimony from our planner, from the planner? See none. Do you have any questions, sir? Any questions, sir?
Nope.
Any other witnesses?
Are there any more? I was going to ask if you have any more witnesses.
No, I have no further witnesses. That concludes our testimony. I just want to thank the board for their time and consideration. I believe the testimony presented tonight by our civil engineer and planner supports the use variance as well as the bulk variance is being requested.
Would one of our members like to frame a resolution, please?
Sure. I think this was a nice, clean, concise presentation. I think it goes with the master plan to promote green energy. It's non-intrusive, not really changing anything other than putting some extra structures on open space anyway. So I'll be voting for it.
Application 24:31, Chase Bank 53 North Doric Road, Block 607, Lot 1, Zone B-5, to issue or grant a preliminary and final site plan with grant a C variance to construct solar carports.
Second.
And we also have a D1 use variance. I just want to put that.
Yes.
Berkowitz.
Yes.
Jaskowitz.
Yes.
Mazzarella.
Yes.
Teddy.
Yes.
Quinn.
Yes.
Ready.
Yes.
Willen.
Yes.
Grignani.
Yes.
Thank you very much for your time.
You accepted the lights out subject to security conditions
Yeah, we'll work with your,
and the
the business hours.
reflection. Yeah,
The glare.
yeah.
There's no glare. They already have they put a note on the plans.
Oh, they did?
Yeah, they have a note, I
I didn't see
believe,
it, okay,
note 3 on sheet C10.
sorry there.
That's okay, but yeah, we agree to work with you and the board engineer regarding the lights.
Can you make the drive-through wider so I don't take my mirror off every time I go to the ATM?
Thank you very much.
Stop depositing all your money and then that's the problem.
I almost do it every time I go through.
Thank you.
Application 2413 J. Ohm Incorporated, 3 Green Hill Road, Block 391, Lot 1, Zone B3. Preliminary and final major site plan with C/D variances to construct a mixed-use structure.
Madam Chairman, I have a bit of a bookkeeping question before we proceed on this, if I might.
Excuse me, sir?
I have a bit of a bookkeeping issue that I'd like to,
Please.
the plans that are in the board packet are, for the architectural plans, are revision 3, dated February 14th, 2023, but the architectural plans that were submitted for review is revision 6, I believe, revised July 29th, 2024. So I guess my question is, if the current plan, which I'm assuming is the new ones that I had, were available 10 days prior to the meeting for a public review.
I believe they were. Let me just double check that. Is this like the last one?
Yeah, I think so.
Packet's got revision 5.
So I'm saying is revision 6.
5.
He's got revision 6, right? What did you say the last revision date was? Or?
The revision date on the architectural plans that I reviewed is revision 6, July 29th, 2024, but the plans in the board packet is revision 3, revised December 14th, 2023.
Provided that later plan, July.
Right, but if this is the plan that was available for public viewing 10 days before the hearing, it's not the plan that we're speaking of now. It's 3 revisions too old.
I don't know what was available for public view.
You're talking about the architectural plans, right?
The architectural plans, Asral Architect. I don't know what was in what the board file had as.
I have October 12th.
Nora's checking right now.
October 12th, 23. Is that what you have? October 12th. All these files.
Yeah, the one I received, has, 5 revisions, last revision date 10/20/24. Oh, has anyone been by? No, no one's been by. Actually, no, one person did come by, only because they were interested in what, you guys were doing. They actually wanted to buy your property.
So the plan that they were reviewing was which plan?
I'm sorry?
The plan that they reviewed was which plan?
Let me think a minute. I'm trying to think if they came in before,
Mine is,
I received these. I think they came in before I received the latest set of plans.
at October 12th. Correct. I don't have October 14th and October 12th.
So the latest set of plans was available for review.
That's the one.
That's fine, I just, like I said, I just noticed the dates on these, and I wanted to make sure that we're all on the same page.
That's different plans.
Well, which plan is the architect going to testify to, revision 5 or revision 6?
The later revision. The latest revision. We're going to testify to the latest plan.
Which is 6. And that you don't or do have? No.
I have, what I received was revision, number 5 dated 10/28/24.
No, nor the architectural plans.
Yeah, you're, the other ones, the Asphalt, not the Miola plans, the Asphalt plans.
Which ones you're talking about?
You want the
What are you
architectural?
talking about?
Where does it say the date?
On the side,
On the side, it's the 3rd revision.
is it A1, I mean A0? 1, 2, 3? Thank you, sir.
What date do you have?
I have 12/14/23.
It looks like the package has through revisions.
I see October 12th.
October 12th is the issue date.
Oh.
And then you go, see that hard to read zoning review on the right-hand side?
Yes. Oh,
Above
okay.
that, see, it's revision 1, 2, 3.
Can't
And
see
this is
that.
what they're putting in the package.
I trust you.
It seems to be 12/14/23. Is it?
Yeah, 12/14/23.
What is Tom saying?
Doesn't matter.
That's hard to say.
Well, let's just see what that is.
When was this one?
We don't want this one.
You guys have it. August 12th. 12. No, because you got
Mr. O'Neill, is there going to be an issue with the engineering plans as well?
No, it's not. We've worked that over yet.
It was possible I did not have enough sets, but I needed sets for you guys. So possible it's on.
You got one. 10/28.
No, what's the date of my?
10/28.
Okay, that's, I want to make sure.
That's number 5.
Thank you.
Straight off the plan?
I don't know, Harry.
Mr. Johnson, where do we stand?
I thought we were looking at something still. What? Mr. Lebanos, what are the plans that you reviewed?
The plans from Astral Architect that I received, revision 6, revision date July 29th, 2024. The question is that the board packets that I had here this evening was revision 3 from December 14th, 2023. So the plans I reviewed are 3 generations newer than the plan that was in the packet.
Understood. And so the question is, does the board's file have revision?
Right, and I don't have a cover letter from the August submission. It came directly from the engineer, so there may have just been a specific number of plans that needed to go out to certain individuals.
The architectural, or are we talking about?
The engineering plan dates work. They're okay.
What do you say?
They work, they're fine.
The engineering plans are fine.
Right, it's the architectural plans that we're talking about.
And the
Just out of it, over abundance of caution, how do I proceed and mark that plan as an exhibit? Even though it's been reviewed. Certainly, our record shows dropped off with plenty of time for the public to review.
So your records show that the architectural plan, the latest version of the architectural plan, were submitted to the board.
Yes, I've confirmed that with
But you're offering to make an exhibit just to,
If there's a question about it, I'll make it.
Okay, that sounds fine.
Mr. O'Neill, please.
Thank you. So with that, Joseph O'Neill, on behalf of the applicant, JO, we are here for a mixed-use building here in the Green Hill neighborhood. It's right across from the Green Hill Shopping Center, for those of you familiar with the neighborhood. I'd like to get into the particulars of the plan, given the hour. With the board's permission, I'd like to call my first witness, Mr. O'Neill.
Okay, can you raise your right hand, please? Do you swear or affirm the testimony that you're about to give should be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Spell your name, spell your first and last name.
Frederick C. Meola, M-E-O-L-A.
Mr. O'Neill, your licenses are all in order still, right?
Yes, they are.
You walk us through the particulars of the plan, but first, we have a plan up for what date on the exhibit board?
10/28/24.
October 28, 2024. We're going to mark that as exhibit A1.
That's the engineering plan.
That's the engineering plan.
Right.
And those ones we know we have in the packet.
That's in the
We have it
package.
in the packet, and they're for 10/28.
Yeah, in the package.
Right, and it is now September, no, it's November 6th. Right. Now 10 days. Exhibit A1. Yeah, that's okay. Okay. Yeah. All right, so using that exhibit, which everybody has.
Number 6.
Thank you. Yeah, it's a late night for some of us here. Last time, Russ. So, can you walk us through what we're proposing?
Should state it.
Microphone?
Take the microphone.
This one work?
Yep.
Okay. Okay, page 1 has the existing conditions on the site on the upper left corner, and the upper right side has the proposed conditions. There's an existing structure on the site that over the years has been used for various things. It was I believe, a doctor's office at one time. It's now being used residentially, but that's the reason why you see a parking lot there, because it was a non-residential use for a period of time. The proposal is to remove the existing structures on the property and construct a new building, a 2-story building with 3 stores down below and 3 apartments on the 2nd floor, and then a parking lot on the easterly side and the southerly side of the site, the southerly side being adjacent to Green Hill Road, and that would be a one-way driveway configuration where the exit would be closest to Parsippany Road. So to enter the site, you would come in from the most easterly driveway, which is at the east end of the site, and you could park in the rear or take the parking in the front, and there's a handicap spot shown in conformance. There's also, for the board's benefit, there's a detail of the trash enclosure, and the trash enclosure is the northwest corner of the parking lot. It's labeled, it's kind of adjacent to the, what I call the landing area for the handicap spot. Then if we flip to sheet 2, that has the grading and drainage plan, and the site basically has about a 9-foot change in grade from Parsippany Road to the easterly end of the site on Green Hill Road. There's about a 9-foot difference there. The site has about a 5 to 6% grade across it from one end to the other. And then adjacent to that grading and drainage plan is the soil erosion plan, which has all the standard requirements of soil erosion, the tracking pad, silt fence, and the area where they're going to stockpile topsoil temporarily during construction. And if I can get the sheet to flip. Sheet 3 has the lighting plan on it in the upper left corner and all the lighting details associated with it, as well as some other details on the site, the fencing, the concrete sidewalk detail, the sanitary sewer detail. And you can see the lighting isolux and all the foot candles. It's basically a half a foot candle within the property perimeter. Brighter as you get closer to the building because some of the lights are mounted on the building. And the client is going to LED lights for savings of cost. And we also show the details for the electric vehicle charging station, which I believe is in the, I apologize, I don't have a north arrow on this sheet. It's in the north, I guess the southeast corner of the site. It's basically adjacent to the first dry well, where the electric vehicles are going to be parked. And then sheet 4 has the balance of the details that's required. We have the town details for the curbing and driveway opening. We have 2 details for covers. The reason why we have 2 reinforced concrete cover details is one of them has an open grate and the other one has a solid cover because we didn't have open grates on all of the dry wells. You know, unless Tom disagrees with me, and then we'll make them all open grates. It's fine. I think you only need one on each dry well.
Right, but I think there was another issue with some inconsistencies between them.
Yeah, we moved them to take care of the grades that you talked about, and I apologize, but your company doesn't know your phone number. I tried calling you today to talk to you, and I tried your first name, your last name, I kept saying you didn't exist, so I never could get a message to you so we could talk.
All my emails have my cell number, but that's okay.
I didn't even think to look at the cell number.
There are some, one of the comments I have in my letter, there's some inconsistencies in the slab thickness and getting all that assemblage to fit in the dimensions that are on the dry well detail. I don't think any of that's nothing of it is a deal breaker. It just, we gotta fix the numbers. So when the contractor goes
as always, I'd be happy to meet with you, and we'll work out the numbers.
Yeah.
I think we're getting a little too
Detailed.
granular on this. Why don't we just go through the bigger picture here?
Okay. So anyway, that's the overall picture. We have 18 parking spots, and by code, the electric vehicle parking spots, which are 2, counts as double, so that means that there's technically, by code, 20 parking spots on site.
So the building is also a little closer to the front?
Yes, the building is, the front yard setback of the building is 40 on Green Hill, on Parsippany Road, it's 40 feet, and on Green Hill, it's 50 feet. So we comply with the front yard of 50 feet on Green Hill. We're slightly short on Parsippany Road, front yard.
That's because you've shifted the building to keep it away from the residential use.
Yes, the original building was only 51.8 feet from the easterly property line, which is adjacent to the residential. The new building is now 70 feet, so we've shifted it to the west approximately 20 feet, give or take.
So for the residential units, how are they handling trash?
There's a recycling area that can be used for both.
Just put it out?
Yeah, there's a recycling area, and it'll have a dumpster or containers in it. I'm not sure exactly how they're proposing. It will be picked up, yeah,
This is only 3 units.
yes.
So you're going to comply with all as you were describing there, that little sidebar you did. You're going to
Yes.
comply with all the current water standards?
We don't need to comply with the major water standard requirements. We will supply whatever extra information Tom may want. But it's basically pretty much conforming except for some technical details.
You've reviewed the report that Tom's prepared?
Yes, and there was only a couple of things on there that I was trying to get a hold of Tom to talk to him about.
Let's just go over the retaining wall. Question.
Yeah.
Are you going
Yeah.
through, Mr. Levinitz?
I am.
The date of that is?
November 1st.
Okay. Where are you on that document?
I'm on page 2, number 7.
Page 2, number 7.
Okay. I prefer to go down in order. Can we back up a little bit?
No, I prefer to go to number 7.
Okay. Not a problem. Number 7, we will add the additional dimensions for the retaining wall. They do comply. The difference is on the northerly side of the building, there's a sidewalk because that's where the residential people come in to get to their units. They enter from the rear. The sidewalk is 5 feet wide. The sidewalk is 5 feet off the property line, so there's 10 feet. We have a keystone wall, which is an additional foot, but that doesn't have to be 5 feet off the property line. So that's why there's the difference in the number.
The other detail we're going to need is for the wall on the east side, along the east property line. And that was going to be a question here, because right now, if you start at the east wall of the building, okay, you've got a 5-foot sidewalk.
Yes.
And that's to the face of the curb.
Yes.
Then you got the 18-foot space, the 24-foot aisle, the 18-foot space. Then you hit something. It's labeled as a retaining wall. What kind of retaining wall is that? Is that a modular block?
Well, right now, it's actually curbing, but it's going to be a retaining wall because of changing the grades, trying to flatten it out based on your comments. So that'll be a wall that's approximately 2 feet high. We've already worked out the grades.
So it's going to be a cast-in-place wall?
No, it'll be segmental block.
Okay, so when you do the 5 plus 18 plus 24 plus 18, you come to the curb.
Yeah.
The face of the curb, and the dimension is 5 feet off the wall to the face of the curb.
Yes.
Then you've got 6 inches for the curb, then you've got a foot for the wall. So now you're 3.5 feet from the face of the wall to the property line.
Okay, it's actually 4, because it's going to be the block. We'll just elevate the block 6 inches and replace the curb with the block. We don't necessarily need a curb and then the wall behind it. We can
Well,
just,
the block really isn't made to get hit with a car.
well, they glue them down, is what they do, Tom. They have a special glue they use on, matter of fact, you're supposed to use it all the time on the cap blocks so that they don't tilt and people can fall off it. So we would just glue down the top 2 layers.
I just don't know if that's going to take a snowplow hit.
It should. I mean,
Because if it doesn't, somebody's going over the wall.
How high is this wall now?
it's 24 inches maximum.
You're filling, George, it's gonna be above the home to the east, correct?
Yes, it'll be elevated. The grid will be coming in under the parking lot. It doesn't go on to the east
What are
any
you gonna
further.
put on top of that wall?
I I was just going to raise the wall to be 6 inches above the pavement and use it as a curbing, as a curb stop.
So if somebody happened to go over that, they'd be hanging their car over 2.5 feet.
Well, yes, if they can. I mean, you can put a fence on it. They can drill holes in these walls if you want.
I mean, we've all seen cars go over bumper stops or whatever. I mean, it's gonna happen.
Yeah.
And just to continue, so now we've got, it's 5 feet from the face of this wall, from the parking lot face. So now, the face of the wall is 4 feet to the property line. So your buffer is actually 4 feet.
Right, the backside of the wall, you're right. The backside of the wall, however you want to describe it, is 4 feet, because the wall has a thickness to it.
Now, also on this plan, the EV charger is in a little bump out.
Yes.
So that's even less than 4. I'm just trying to get down to the variance for the buffer width, trying to get that
Okay.
number.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's 4 feet along most of it, except around that around
Yeah, the EV charger is
thing.
here, and the EV charger, I just want to get the detail, the dimensions for you.
Because I scaled it to about 2 feet. I think that shows the charger, but not the bump out.
Yeah, the charger is, I'm going to make an estimate of about a foot, so that would be
So you- that's
4,
a
so
foot,
down to
another
3,
foot for
and
the
then if you
wall.
put 6 inches behind the charger for the little
Yeah.
surround, it's about 2.5 feet at that bump out spot where the EV charger is.
Okay, and that's what I was getting at with all this, to make sure,
Yes.
because that's a variance, and we have to verify what that is.
Yeah, no, not a problem.
Now, jumping ahead again. On page 3, numbers 9 and 10, detail the question regarding curb. You address the curb from Hill Road, also the driveway issues inconsistent.
Yeah, we'll modify that to show a full-face curb where we're closing down the existing driveway exceeds the town code, which is maximum, I believe, of 24 plus 5 on each side. I believe it's 34 feet, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, 24 exclusive of the flare.
Yeah. And it's slightly wider than that, that's why we show it. But yes, we'll put a full-face curb in that area.
Okay, the other part of that question was, right here,
Yeah.
right there, this is all curbing, new curb here. But this, when it curves back in here, it's different than how it curves back in here. Just make everything consistent, put a standard driveway apron with the sidewalk and the whole deal. That's all I'm looking for.
Yeah.
Because right now, it almost looks like it was free-handed in there.
Yes, but we'll get some kind of radius in there.
Jumping down on that same page, question number 17, that reinforced concrete frame question. Talk about that.
That's what we already talked about.
All right. So you'll comply with all the other requirements of requests to submit the matter.
Yes.
I have no further questions for this.
Madam Chair, I just have one more item that I did not realize at first, but I found it kind of by accident. An angled handicap parking space. Okay, the aisle has to be on the passenger side. You have it on the driver's side.
I respectfully disagree. I think the aisle can be on either side because the driver could be handicapped or the passenger can be handicapped.
You can utilize the entire.
Yeah.
space.
I will send you the quote, because I read it directly out of the regs.
Yeah, but, if we have to, we just flip it. I mean, if we're, we'll flip it and put the aisle on the opposite side and.
Well, we'll flip it. Not if we have to, we'll flip it. We'll flip it. Right?
If I have to flip it, yes.
We're agreeing.
I'm getting nudged from the attorney that we're agreeing to flip it.
Are you going to have Mr. Mayola address all the variances listed in Mr. Lemanowitz is November 1st, 2024 report.
I was planning to say that for the planner.
Okay.
You want, okay, Mr. Viola?
I mean, there seems to be there seems to be a lot of sea variances.
Yeah.
Can you address
The variances that,
variance for the buffer area in particular?
yeah. Yeah, obviously, we've been talking about the variance for the side yard buffer from the easterly parking lot, and it's now at 1 point 2.5 feet, going to about 4 feet because of the thickness of the wall. So that would be the variance at that point.
Do you agree with Mr. Lemanowitz that the ordinance requires 25 feet?
Yes. Yes.
And you're proposing 5 feet?
We're proposing actually 4 to 2.5 where you have the handicap spot bumping out. You know, I mean, the only way to make it 5 feet is we'd have to slide the building closer to Parsippany Road. So instead of a 40-foot setback, it would be 38.
Well, it's not a 5-foot buffer, it's a 25-foot buffer.
That's what I thought I heard.
Yeah, 25.
No, it's 25 is the required. I don't think anybody wants this building that close to Parsippany Road. But if you're comfortable, if you want the 5 foot that we had shown, then I would need to move it closer to Parsippany Road by a few feet.
Or make a smaller building,
That's,
correct?
yeah, the architect can explain why, because we've had a lot of talks about the building size and how the rooms lay out and stuff in the hallway.
But that's the issue we have to deal with here on variances, okay?
Yes.
And so your structure is creating a significant variance request. Are you confident that you can justify the rationale for that variance request?
That's actually the question I wanted to leave for the planner.
Yeah, that's the planner and the architect.
Okay.
When you design this, do you take any consideration for outdoor space for the tenants?
We talked about it. The feeling was that the tenants, that this kind of building are going to be just tenants that are in the units and they don't have much outdoor space at all.
So the answer is no, there's nothing on the side.
So you didn't provide for it?
No, we didn't. The answer is no, we didn't provide for it. Okay. The minimum lot area in this zone is 20,000 square feet, and this lot has 19,952 square feet, so it's deficient by about 48 square feet to be conforming. And then we already talked about it, but the ordinance requires 50-foot front yards and will be 40 feet off of Parsippany Road. And then we already talked about the side yard having to deal with the height of the building being 25 feet.
So Fred,
And then there's one other possible variance, depending on how it is. The architect shows a canopy on the rear of the building with a number, which is number 3 for Green Hill. And he put it on there specifically so that people visiting would know that that's the entrance to the residential part of this building, because you come in from the rear and you go into a vestibule and you go up the stairs and then you spin up to the 3 doors. So if the number on this canopy is a variance, then, I mean, if we have to, we'll take it off, because it doesn't matter.
There's 4 signs, right?
Yeah, well, we have the 4 signs, yes, we have the signs in the front of the building, which we need 1 sign for each tenant in the commercial use. And that's the 3 signs that are on the building.
Taking away the building numbers, so that's gotta stay on 4 signs.
I have to interject. I hate to say this, but I don't have any idea what this is about. I'm sorry. I'm not following. Am I alone?
I have a very severe back spasm, and I don't know if it's just a pain in the ass or my back bothering me, but no, I can't follow it, so.
Right. I'm not really following exactly what we're,
That's what I was trying to get at. The variances we're
Right.
supposed to be requesting if the other things happen.
I don't mean to be disrespectful, but I'm not following it.
No, that's fine. Yeah.
So, Mr. Viola, what it is we're proposing here, we're proposing replace the existing building, which was a residence and a doctor's office. It's currently a single-family home with a parking lot, basically. We're going to replace it with a new mixed-use building with 3 storefronts below, and 3 apartment buildings, 3 apartments above, right?
Correct.
The entrance to the apartments is in the rear of the building, but on the side facing the residential use in the back of the building. I guess going north. Keep saying back, but it's going north, trust me.
Yes, okay.
And the storefronts are facing Green Hill Shopping Center, facing south.
Right.
The parking lot is over-parked in front of the building.
It's angled parking along Green Hill and then perpendicular parking on the easterly side of the building in that 70-foot setback that we said we had.
So you're making changes to accommodate, to increase the separation between the building and the residential building to the east. You have moved that building to the west, basically, closer to Parsippany.
Yes.
And that parking lot area in the back, is there anything adding to the buffer in the rear there? Any fencing?
There's a fence. There's a vinyl fence. There's a detail on the plans.
Yeah, okay. So and lastly, on the residential side, this new plan that you prepared, which we marked as an exhibit, the only difference between that and the plan before is you added the rail that the architect requested on the north side of the building near that residential entrance, right?
Yes.
Are there any other changes?
No.
So it's 3 rentals above and 3 storefronts below.
And you are asking for these 6 variances for C.
Right.
And
Mixed use D variance.
and these for the bulk use?
Right.
Okay,
Yeah,
yes, okay. So I know what we're asking for, and now you've laid out, I think, yes. Thank you.
Is Mr. Miola's testimony complete? Are there any questions from the board of Mr. Miola's testimony?
Right, so I guess so far, you've agreed to, or we're not there yet, with Mr. Lemanowitz, you're going to agree with what his concerns were?
Yeah, everything in his report, I went through and highlighted
Those
bigger
few,
issues.
those, yes, okay,
But
the others you're gonna
every
agree to.
recommendation, we're gonna comply with.
Okay,
Madam Chair, I'm going to have to recommend that east side wall be poured in place, because I don't think a modular block wall is going to hold up to traffic hit or a snowplow hit, and I think someone's going off the edge.
I'd be happy to, I don't fight with you, so you want modular, you want port, I'll give you the port.
And again, in that case, you could bring it up high enough to eliminate the need for a guide rail. And when you do that, you'll also block the headlights from going into the house next door.
Okay, yeah, not a problem. So just so I'm clear, we're gonna go over the 25-foot/5-foot need with the planner and the architect, is that the plan here?
We're gonna go over the
Okay, just wanna make sure.
Any other questions from the board?
No.
Are there any questions in the audience of Mr. Miola's testimony? Mr. O'Neill?
If I may just have one moment.
Shirley?
I agree with you, Brandon, whatever, three storefronts.
There are a lot of streets outside, the other side.
Businesses. We don't have anything to do with the business storm. That would be a second. It was one that I did commercial. They're gonna add more traffic. Is this guy gonna tell us that?
There'll be all kinds of things there.
Yeah.
One side. It's got the sides too. Side is all for us.
Doug, we need to swear you in. Can you raise your right hand, please? Do you swear or affirm that the testimony that you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Please state your name, spell your name.
Douglas, with two S's, Asral, Asral.
Thank you. I'll give the board, please, the benefit of your experience.
I'm a registered architect in the state of New Jersey and Pennsylvania for 24 years. Received my degree from New Jersey Institute of Technology, member of the American Institute of Architects and National Council of Architectural Registration Boards. And I was just going to say, I've appeared most recently before the Bernardsville, Florham Park, and Hanover Township Boards.
Now I will submit it as an expert for architectural purposes. Appears to be accepted. That's real, let me sure, by the way. Go ahead.
Oh, thank you.
Describe, please, the,
All right.
that you're proposing.
Proposing a two-story, a mixed-use building with residences on the second floor above, I'm sorry?
Okay.
Thank you. Okay. I'm sorry. Okay, gotcha. Right, yeah, proposing a two-story mixed-use building with residential apartments on the second floor above commercial units, three of them, on the first floor. The building measures 90 feet wide by 40 feet in depth, 3,600 square foot footprint. Entrances would be to the commercial part along the Green Hill Road facing elevation. And directly on the other side would be the entrance to the vestibule and stair taking up to the second floor to the residences. Each unit is about 1,105 square feet on the ends and 1,044 on the center unit for the commercial portion.
Before you go to that next sheet, take me from the sidewalk up to the apartment on the east end.
From the sidewalk from the east end, so along...
The east end unit, the one on the right.
The one on the right, yeah. Okay, so this is the...
Coming up the sidewalk, I'm gonna go to my unit. Where do I enter?
The residential unit?
Yes.
Yeah, right in the middle of the building, you'd enter a vestibule that will take you to a stair that takes you up to the second floor for the apartments. And also downstairs to the basement.
Where's the hallway to get to that unit on the right?
The unit on the right, it has its own entrance.
How do you get to it from that stairwell?
No.
Oh, it's got a separate stairwell for that?
Each of the commercial units have their two entrances.
Talking about residential.
The residential, let me, when I get to the second floor, so.
Shows the hallway.
So, let me go to the second floor.
Yes.
All right. On sheet A2. Once we arrive at the second floor, there'll be a hallway to get you to the three units. So, the right unit on the east side has its door at the end of the hallway. The middle unit has its entrance door to the apartment just to the right of the stair, and then the last unit would be to the left of the
Is
stair.
that undercover? Is that enclosed?
It's a hallway. It's in the building.
Okay.
It's enclosed, and I'll take you through it. Walk you around the building. Maybe I'll go right to the exterior elevations. That might help. Oh, hang on. If you wouldn't mind, Fred, how you ever operate this? Okay. Okay. All right. So this is the view from Green Hill Road, the front of the building, let's say, where the retail spaces are, retail 1, 2, and 3. Excuse me? I'm sorry, yeah. All right. So this is the retail faces, the retail front entrances face 3 Green Hill Road. Directly opposite in the rear are the entrances to the rear entrances to the commercial units, and then right in the middle is the door leading to the vestibule that takes you to the stair to the second floor. And this is what Mr. Miller was referring to. It might have been considered a sign. It's actually a canopy, like an angle, a canopy for cover. So it's not a sign, actually, it's just the number 3 printed on the canopy. If that falls under the definition of sign, we can relocate the number 3 to the side of the building or something. So, yeah, sorry. Is there a question? Okay, all right. So, and I'll show you the side views.
Just stay on that one for just a minute, I just have a couple of, so the front view here, this is facing Green Hill Road, and it looks like it's pretty good slope, there's a ramp there to all these retail stores, is that correct? So how do I get into retail 2? I go up that ramp?
Yeah, yes, it's less than 5% grade, and then, yes, you go up the ramp.
Difference.
And retail 2, the front entrance is right there, and it levels off in front of the door.
So it can be accessed from, you don't have to use the ramp, it can be accessed off of the...
Well, it's not a ramp, it's a walkway.
On ours, it's a ramp.
That's the previous scheme, yes, that's the older scheme. This is the most recent scheme without the railing. This is the July 29th, yeah.
So looking at the one we have, makes
Yeah,
it seem like a very steep slope. Yeah.
Right. So the grading has been modified per Mr. Miola's most recent plans to show that a railing is no longer necessary, as the grading has been reduced to less than 5%.
We need to mark that A2?
A2 it is, all right?
So do you know what kind of retail you have going in there, is that, did you really ask that, doesn't that matter?
Excuse me? No.
Has any decisions been made on the retail, what will be going into those facilities? Was that your question?
The answer is no decision.
Okay.
Are you asking for variances from the commercial use designation? You're in a commercial zone.
Yeah.
The apartments are not permitted.
Yeah, we were not.
You're not asking for any relief from that
No, same as
use group?
across the street,
Just for the apartments, not for the retail?
just for the,
Okay, got it.
Side views of the proposed building. This would be on the left side, which is the side facing Parsippany Road. And there's that canopy I was referring to, which covers the entrance to for the stair that leads to the apartments. And then this is the east side of the east elevation on the right side of the building, with commercial units facing the parking area, and the whole design is to transition from the more commercial Parsippany Road environment to the more residential towards as you go down Green Hill Road. So it's commercial on the bottom with colonial vernacular architectural language there on the on the second floor. And I'll take you through the apartments. Okay.
Do you plan to have all the mechanicals? Because there's no basement.
There is a basement.
Oh, there is?
Yeah, there is a basement.
Everything going in the basement?
stairwell that takes people, everybody up to the apartments, also takes you down to the basement. So there will be, each commercial unit will have its own basement, and then then there will be a sprinkler room off to the side of the stair for, this will be a sprinkler building, and so utilities will be in the basement down below.
How about the residential utilities? Where are they gonna be?
The residential utilities will be in the attic space above. So heating and air conditioning, air handlers will be in the attic space, providing heat and air conditioning for the apartments, and then the mechanical spaces down below for the retail.
No compressors sitting out in the yard area someplace. Everything's gonna be in the attic.
The air handlers will be in the attic. There could possibly be some condensers, yes, outside.
For the retail space.
Where would you think you might keep it?
We'll have to discuss locating condensers. Yeah.
The township ordinance treats them as a structure. So we need to either update the variance list. I mean, I can't imagine they're gonna be sitting in some kind of, out the front yard.
There's, I mean, condensers, as,
Just telling you, the
yeah.
township ordinance requires the condensers to meet setback requirements.
We're gonna need to revisit that question.
Okay. I mean, I just can't figure out where they go.
But depending on the unit, they might not need to do it.
Okay.
So there's a possibility, Mr. O'Neill, that there will be no condensers on the property,
It's the
depending...
design. It depends upon the design of the unit. Not all designs for
This,
residential
how do you get the heat out of the condenser?
require the outside.
Gotta blow out.
That's correct.
True, yeah, okay.
Is there going to be any
Yeah.
storage in the basement for the tenants,
No,
the apartments?
no, the apartments, they have access to the attics, yeah. There has to be,
The attic?
yes,
Is that
with a
gonna
pull
be-
down. Mhm.
Is that going to be built so it can be used as storage?
Yes, it will. Yeah, with a pull-down stair for storage and for access to the air handlers. And to address the question about the condensers, yeah, we could look, seek options for the condensers being contained within the attic space. So, or you know, and have it, the exhausts, you know, blown out through the roof. So we have to consider, you know, yeah.
I'm just not telling you that you're gonna have to show them someplace.
Right.
Because if they're in the side yard, you gotta add it to your list of variants.
It could be building mounted as well, so that's another option. So, but we'll look,
You guys
yeah,
can figure it out.
we'll figure it out.
Question, pull-down staircase
Mhm.
to get to the attic.
Yes.
Are they located in the new plans? Because I don't see any on the plan that I have. A2.
Yeah, on A2, yeah, we have not gone to the extent to indicate pull-down stair access, but that, we do have to have access to these mechanical units that would be in the attic. So eventually there will be.
Possibly be in one of the closets?
Oh, yes, certainly you could have the access could be anywhere, but yeah, ideally, you know, concealed in a closet would be, you know.
Why don't they put it in the hall?
Certainly could put in the hall. I mean, we haven't explored it yet, but, yeah.
Common
Okay.
one.
So,
So you don't have people running.
Also to take advantage of the storage capacity for each tenant.
I'm sorry, Mr. O'Neill, did you suggest putting it in the hallway so that it's
Looks like we're
accent?
gonna have to get back to you on that one.
Okay.
Is that an issue with whether it's from one hallway or from each individual unit to get to the access?
That
We
was
just
my
wanna know,
question.
like-
Yeah.
That's my question. Okay, all right, you're gonna get back to us on that, Mr. O'Neill.
Yeah.
All right. The apartments each has 2 bedrooms, and so a total of 6 bedrooms for this building.
Bathrooms.
Of course. course, there's a bathroom and powder room for each unit.
Powder room is nothing but a toilet and sink, correct?
Excuse me?
Powder room is a toilet and a sink.
Right.
And where are they located, in the retail space?
Toward the rear of each unit.
Pardon me?
Toward the rear of each unit in the retail. Yeah.
Mr. Essel, you had commented that the railing was removed across on the front sidewalk because it's no longer a ramp, which is correct.
Right.
The issue is that there's at least, from what I could get from the topography, there's about a 1.4 foot drop from the sidewalk to the parking lot. So in my report, I recommended that the railing be put back.
I see.
Is that an issue with access or anything else?
No, not at all. Absolutely. Yeah, yeah.
Now I'm confused. So that, the railing was there, then the railing went away. Now we're gonna put the railing back?
Where we have a where we have a 1 foot drop off, yes.
The 1 foot drop off's been there the whole time.
There's a railing was definitely required when we had a ramp. We no longer have a ramp, so this is a railing that's not so much of
1
a,
foot drop off without a rail, so where you jump up over that? I mean, what prevents people from going over that? I don't get it, I really don't.
Let me help out here.
Yeah,
If the sidewalk is 5% or greater, it's a ramp according to the American with Disabilities Act, and it needs a railing.
Okay.
They reduced the slope, so they don't need the railing because of the Americans with Disabilities Act. But they still have a 1.5 foot drop off. If you walk out the retail door, walk across the sidewalk, you would now drop 1.5 foot or 1.4 feet to the parking lot. What I'm saying is put the railing back as a fall protection,
So it's a
not as
safety
a
issue,
ramp
not a
railing.
disability
Yeah.
addressing issue.
They removed the ramp for one reason, but there's another reason to
Yeah,
keep,
that's what I said.
they moved the railing around.
Huh?
Tom, should they be putting steps down from the sidewalk to the asphalt surface?
Well, the person's gonna have to walk all the way to the end of the building to get around the railing and come out, because there's no room for staircase,
And now there'll be a fence there anyway, a railing.
a railing, yeah.
They're not gonna get around it anyway.
So the center store, you're gonna have to, could park in front of it, but in order to get there, you're either gonna jump the railing or walk all the way around.
Well, the railing would only have to go until you get back to a 6-inch drop,
Correct.
6 inch, and you can end it, so it might not, the railing might not be the full width of the building, just that spot where the drop-off is greater.
Partial.
So that's why in the previous scheme, it went across the entirety because it was a ramp that expanded across the whole front. Now, it's just a walkway of 5% or less, and we may need we will have a railing, but may not go across the whole front.
We're getting into a piece of railing here and a piece of railing there. Is that really gonna fit the aesthetics of this building?
We're trying to minimize the amount of railing required, so that's why going from a ramp to a 5% grade or less.
No,
Mhm.
just, should pop in on it and say, we'll discuss it or look at it later or something.
Show us something,
No, aesthetic point of view, it doesn't look good uniform like that.
Compliance with handicap access. That's the other issue, right?
Who would be in charge of outside amenities? That's not your role, that would have been the owner's role or Mr. Neola's role? That is somebody's role.
The owner's role.
Okay. Are we gonna discuss that with the owner? I mean, there's not even a bike rack, there's nothing offered in terms of outside amenities.
I have one other question. So is there a requirement, maybe somebody up here could tell me, is there a requirement for handicap access to the apartments?
No, not for this number of units, yeah. So it's for 4 more, I believe it's more than 4 units.
Okay.
And no co-work?
Yeah, no, go because.
That's how we did that.
Goa is what, more than 5 or 6? 5. I got that now.
I have no further questions for this witness, which we'll obviously have to bring back. Some answers to some other questions. Were there any other questions by the board?
Any other questions? Any other questions from the board?
I'd like to call Ms. Trivedi to answer some of the
Excuse me, are there any questions from the public to this testimony only? Seeing none?
Can you raise your right hand, please? Do you swear or affirm that the testimony that you're about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Can you please state your name, spell your first and last name, please?
Preena Trivedi, Trerna, and the last name is Trivedi, Trivedi. Representing Wyoming.
You are one of the owners of JLM?
That is correct.
You are primarily responsible for the design and then ultimately the operation of this building, should the board see fit to approve it?
That is correct.
So we just wonder if you could just address some of the questions that are coming up about this building. Primarily, this question regarding uses and the aesthetics of the building, the rails. What is the intention here with this building?
The intention is to construct a mixed-use structure in place of a residential structure. It used to be an adult daycare center before it was a residential structure. And as far as the aesthetics is concerned, I am aware, so we'll try to make it, especially the railing, we'll try to see that it meets the aesthetic standards also.
Right, the access in the front is for I'm calling it the front facing Green Hill Road,
Okay.
facing the shopping center. That access is strictly commercial, correct?
Right, to the best of my knowledge, yes.
Yes, and the other side of the building, that's the residential access, strictly residential.
Correct, yes.
Now, was it your intention to give storage above each of the residential units in the annex space? Was that something that you wanted to offer?
That was done by the engineers and the architect working together, the design plan.
So we will need to add some kind of attic stair for each apartment inside the apartment so they can access it? Or was the access to the attic just for maintenance of any units that might be up there? And depending upon the HVAC system, whether it be traditional or a heat pump, there's certainly different demands. They're all-in-one units that could be put in the residentials. Have you had any discussions about HVAC units or anything like that for residential?
That was not finalized as yet.
But was your intention to give each apartment access to the attic?
That is correct, yes.
So
Mr. O'Neill, can I stop, man? I guess, we have plans here. We don't know if they're gonna have storage, where the storage is gonna be. We don't know if there's gonna be air conditioning in it, where they're gonna be. There's so much incomplete here. What is it that you're gonna want us to approve tonight? Because right now, I don't know where I'm at here, okay? I mean, I got so many unknowns, and we're gonna have, those things are gonna come back. Are we gonna do this condition upon all these other things?
No, what I was trying to explore was to make sure that I had all the questions of the board.
Okay.
So we could answer all the questions at the next hearing. That's all I was doing.
Okay, thank you. All right, okay, so
I was not intending to ask for.
Could I ask a couple questions? When you conceived of this project, did you give any consideration to having any kind of amenities for those 3 apartment units? An outside grill, a bike rack, anything, a bench?
Nothing has been, planned as yet, no. No
Well,
additional
that's part of
amenities.
what your application is. It has to show, doesn't have to show anything. You say, no, that's the answer. And the board takes that into consideration as to whether or not this is a good application for the township.
Right.
So,
if you're building something, you want people, for us to have, living in our town, we'd like to have something going on, okay? If there's nothing there, we're not gonna say it'd be a good thing for people to live in our town with.
Well, I think that what I would say at this point is, as I said, we're trying to get some questions and some board concerns.
You got a pretty long list going.
Indicated.
You got a pretty long list going, I guess, right?
We are willing to work, so if there's anything,
I
yeah.
think the other thing is, you're asking for a big relief on the buffer requirement. And the walls, the window treatment is, I don't think fully residential. I think you could use shutters or bigger window trim or something to, tilt this thing more to a residential look structure than a straight commercial, second floor commercial without any treatment at all. So I think, as Mr. O'Neill was saying, I'm trying to get everything out of here. I'm trying to offer some comments.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
I also have a comment. With the property being the size it is, and the length and the width of this building, you're not offering anything, as has been said, to the tenants. Would you consider shrinking the building, eliminating one of the apartments, so that you can provide some amenities
Well,
to the
Mr. Magnani,
tenants?
we're
You're
gonna
gonna-
take all these concerns and look at the plans, both the site plan and the architectural plan in total, and try to come up with some solutions or answers to some of these concerns, questions that the board has.
Thank you.
So I think with that, I'm just gonna
See you soon.
request that it be adjourned to allow us to address some of these concerns.
That'd be a good idea. Yeah, I am.
I mean, I know what mine is, but business.
But they heal themselves.
Yeah.
But that's still healing.
Gentlemen, we're not finished yet. We have a full session.
It won't take long.
I have faith in you, Mr. Johnson.
Okay, what day we got here?
5 minutes.
March 5th.
Yes, ouch, I've got a lot of applications that are large, pushing February and January.
March 5th. This matter be adjourned till March 5th.
Got it.
Without further notice. And we'll grant all extensions through the end of March.
Thank you. Good idea.
March 5th.
Thank you, Mr. O'Neill.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Have a nice night. What do you got to vote on?
We are adjourning the regular meeting?
Yes, may I have a motion to adjourn the regular
No, do we
meeting?
have to vote on, Mr. O'Neill wants us to vote on the March
You have to vote on the extension adjournment.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes.
Thank you, Mr. O'Neill. So moved.
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Berkowitz,
Yes.
Jaskowitz.
Yes.
Varela.
Yes.
Teddy.
Yes.
Quinn.
Yes.
Ready.
Yeah.
Williams.
Yep.
Brianna.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. O'Neill.
Already made it official.
That I just need 5 minutes of the board's time in executive session.
So that means we're gonna ask all of you to leave, and you're gonna get no further notice till March 5th to come back from this case, that's why you're here. Got it? Okay.
I'm sorry,
We couldn't hear you.
we can't hear what you're
I
saying.
think she was just observing.
Oh,
okay.
She lives on Washington.
That's what you said, ma'am? You were just observing? You were just observing? Okay.
Fun, huh? You need more entertainment like this in your life, come back any Wednesday night.
You are from Washington
who was
Street?
the other gentleman that we never heard from?
That is, for
Washington Avenue.
Chase Bank?
Yeah. Have a good night.
Good night.
Gotcha. There you go.
So, we wonder sometimes too.
I understand.
Like
Have a good night.
You just hit my phone going ding, 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 ding. Did you hear it?
Yeah, I heard that.
Okay.
Good night, everyone. Thank you.
Good night.
Good night, Mr. Miola.
Time to go to bed.
Have a good night, Fred.
The drinking.
I apologize, hold on one moment.
Luckily in that order.
Hold on, wait a minute.
Okay.
If you hold on just one moment,
Yep.
it's gonna be a closed, I have to stop the recording and shut the door.
Someone moved the button. What's that?
She's got to read the notice.
The last one?
Stand your building.
Oh, we just have to look at that.
Whenever you're ready, Nora.
Yes.
It's here now.
You want me to shut this?
Yes.
No longer.
You're a good man, Scott.
Welcome to the.
Have to read the whole thing. closed
Yeah,
session.
you got to read the whole thing. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
You know our lawyer, we get the trouble with
Yeah,
it.
you want to.
Well, I